Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one, Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James, second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Good day and welcome, Cavs fans, to another edition of the Block the Shot, the Stop podcast. I am Kevin Lynch here with Skylar Webker to talk about an exciting night. I mean, what more can you get? We got an undefeated Cavs team with LeBron James visiting in the building. Not a whole lot more you can ask for from an early season regular season NBA game. Skylar, I'm turning to you. There's a lot of stuff that happened tonight. Where do you want to go first?
Let's start with kind of the spark that gave this team ignition, and that was Donovan Mitchell. I mean, He came out of the gates kind of like, remember me? Like, I'm also a star on this team. What did he end up the first half with? 15 points?
It's 15 in the first quarter. I'm not sure about
first quarter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was the spark on the gasoline. Everyone went after that.
Yeah, and it's like, these Cavs are just like living right because Garland got 2 fouls early and it changed their rotation pattern because Mitchell usually comes out first, but it ends up working in their advantage because like Mitchell had started to get hot and played the whole first quarter and helps them break out. They're up 19 at the end of the first quarter, and you're right. Like Mitchell was kind of quiet after the first quarter comparatively, but like definitely set the tone for the Cavs tonight.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that we got in a lot of foul trouble. I think there were 3 guys that had to catch some early bench, just getting into foul trouble, which our offense, I mean, they lost. They were able to keep rolling without losing momentum, losing a step. They just played a complete game from start to finish.
No, you're right. And I know we highlighted a few guys we wanted to talk about, and it kind of leads me into the next one in Karis LeVert. How you were talking about like the bench came in, they didn't lose a step. They actually expanded the lead when the bench first came in. LeVert was awesome. I didn't even realize. I looked at the stats at the end of the first quarter. He played 6 minutes, had 6 assists in the first quarter. Like he literally had an assist per minute in the first quarter, which may be some kind of record. I don't know, but incredible for him to come in and play make. He was setting up Allen for quite a few like labs and dunks, and I thought he was really great. Kind of like taking the torch from Mitchell there a little bit at the end of the first quarter, and then beginning of the second quarter, Mitchell finally came out. LeVert started scoring, ended up with 16 points to go with those 6 assists, and thought he was phenomenal tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it all season. Like, he's the perfect 6th man for this team. Though he didn't come out shooting on fire, he finished shooting on fire. He still finished with 16 points and 6 assists.
Yeah.
One interesting thing, I know Tim and I talked last time about how are we going to face the Lakers? Like, what's the game plan? And we kind of thought, well, maybe you just let LeBron and AD be LeBron and AD, but don't let D'Angelo Russell or AR-15, beat you. And boy, howdy, is that what they did? I mean, LeBron and AD finished with decent stats. I mean, decent stat nights for themselves. Outside of that is pretty rough. 8 points, 10 points, 7 points, 0, 6, 5, 6, 2.
Yeah, and then Dalton Connect had 18. He's the only other big scorer, but a lot of that was when the game was out of reach. He scored quite a bit in the fourth quarter, though he does look good. I like him a lot as a rookie bench piece for them. I mean, tonight's game was all about the first quarter. Like they had a 19-point lead at the end of the first quarter. Then they had a 19-point lead at halftime. Then they had an 18-point lead at the end of the third quarter. So like, and then they ended up winning by 24. So like, almost the entire margin in the game was creating that first quarter, setting a tone. As you said, Mitchell being the first one to come out, LeVert really, really contributing a lot when he had to come in for Garland and foul trouble. And then the guy tonight, like we got to talk about, is Jared Allen, and spent a good amount of time on him. Jared ended up with 20 points, 17 rebounds, most of which was in the first half, when the game was still being decided, and was just phenomenal. And I have to say it, he was my best bet of the day. Get 25 points and rebounds combined, and he had that with 4 minutes to go in the first half. And I got, when I put that video out, I got a couple texts. We even got a DM or two saying, like, he's going against AD tonight. But you know what? I knew that AD was going against Jared Allen. And
there you go.
Right. So what did you see out of Jarrett tonight?
Man, I wanted him to get a 20-20 double-double. That would have been all right. But yeah, he was all over the stat sheet in blocks. I mean, he had a huge block on Rui Hachimura. I mean, just completely rubber-armed him.
Yeah. No, he had at least 2 big blocks, that one. And then he pinned AD on the backboard. I would be willing to bet that only happens to AD a few times a season. And he was such a presence tonight. And it was almost like Jarrett is almost the type of player for the Cavs. He gives you exactly what you need. If you need him to play defense and focus more on that, if you need him to focus more on offense, if you need him to be the man tonight, like be the MVP of the game for the Cavs, he'll step up and do that when they needed him tonight, because Mobley got in foul trouble. Garland got in foul trouble. I think they both only played about 8 minutes in that first half. And he was the best player in the game.
No doubt. No doubt. He made it a very long night for AD. Though AD still finished with a double-double, not a single Laker. Oh, Cam Reddish, that was garbage time. Not a single Laker has a positive plus minus, meaning none of them affected the game in a positive manner. The Cavs, on the other hand, every single person besides Ty Jerome has a positive plus minus.
Yeah, they do. And some of them are, as you can expect, really big. The big 4, all between 11 and 16 plus. Merrill and LeVert are 20 and 25. Just really kind of the theme of the season. Just like a great team performance, getting different things from different guys, not only on different nights, but at different stretches within a game. When they want to set a tone, Mitchell comes out and sets the tone. When Jared Allen's going against, in my opinion, the second best center in the league, and he steps up and outplays him. So it's really remarkable through 5 games, how good this Cavs team looks, how complimentary they are of one another. And, and now I know the first 3 games are kind of against iffy opponents, but now they beat the Knicks a couple nights ago. They blew out the Lakers tonight, and starting to feel pretty good about where this thing's going.
I feel great about this week. I know we said, if you finish this week with 2 wins, like, you feel really good. We got those 2 wins against the Knicks and the Lakers. And on top of that, we're looking like we're going to be the last undefeated team in the league. I'm checking the Celtics score right now.
Yeah. Well, I think the Celtics lost, and the Thunder are still undefeated. So they are the last in the East, and then the Thunder play late tonight, I think. Though they have played now 2 less games than the Cavs. They're only 3 now. But the Cavs, I mean, number 1 seed in the East. I don't care if it's only a week into the season. It's never a bad time to be first place in your conference.
No doubt. The Celtics actually are tied and going into overtime.
What? They came all the way back?
All the way back. Holy cow.
That leads me. So I was thinking, I was a little bit envious of you. You kind of trademarked the Go Cavs in the podcast and everything. I'm like, I need a saying. I need a catchphrase or something like that. And what I'm leaning towards is I just all season want to say, we want Boston. They chanted in the Rocket Mortgage Arena. And what I mean by that is, I fully expect the Celtics to be a top 2 seed and playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. I want that same expectation for the Cavs. I want the same expectations as Boston, and to go head to head with them in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I don't think it's that crazy. Like I agreed with you when you said it with Tim the other night was, I don't want to be an Eastern Conference hopeful. I want to be an Eastern Conference expected. Or Eastern Conference Finals expected.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And to be fair, there are really good teams in the East. The East is kind of like top loaded with the top 6 or 7 teams. Obviously, the Celtics we mentioned. The Knicks are going to be there all year long. They're really good. They have some issues with depth. The Sixers and the Bucks are both incredibly talented, and they're having some issues right now. But you expect them to kind of come around, sometime throughout the season. And then the other teams, the Magic, look phenomenal. So like all is to say, I still like Cavs' chances against any of those teams, sans maybe Boston right now. But by the end of the season, I could feel a lot differently about that.
Yeah, I think the way that the league kind of shaken out this year is that the East have great teams, where the West have great stars. So I like our chances against any West team right now. Maybe besides the Thunder. The Thunder are young, youthful, and like to run it. But I think I like our chance against any team in the East. And I like our team against maybe besides Boston.
Yeah,
I think those are our 3 circle right there. Is Boston and the Thunder.
Yeah, I totally agree. And before we move on too much from tonight's game, I do want to go back to Jared Allen because, frankly, he deserves a few more minutes, right?
Heck yeah.
After the way he played tonight, the way he's played this whole season, and we had I think it was Tim actually brought up in the chat tonight, like, where is Jared Allen as far as best centers in the league? He said he was the second best center. I said behind AD. I said I probably like Jokic a little bit more. So it might have been a little exciting because Tim was at the game tonight, by the way.
Yeah,
we can't wait to get his reaction.
Loving it.
Yeah, for sure. But so I pulled up the preseason rankings from Hoops Hype, and they have Jared Allen 12th. I'm going to read you a few of the guys' names in front of him, and obviously we're all homers here, but realistically, there is a lot of guys I would take Jared Allen ahead of right now. Like they got
no doubt
Miles Turner in front of him, 100%. Like Kristaps Porzingis, incredibly talented, but so injury prone.
Yeah,
you have to like Allen better. Chet Holmgren, amazing potential. Today, I think Allen is better than him. I think long term, end of the year, next year, 2 years, Chet could be the better player, no doubt. But like right now, I take Jared Allen. So now we're into the top 9. Şengün is ahead of him, no chance. So now we're at 8. Rudy Gobert, no chance. So now we're at 7. And this is where it starts getting interesting. The top 6 are Bam, Sabonis, Wemby, Jokic, AD, and Embiid. So, I think Jared Allen. Yeah, I think so. I think Sabonis is a great player, and they're slightly different skill sets. But the Kings need more from Sabonis than the Cavs need from Allen. And I wonder if Allen was in a different situation or a situation similar to him, if he wouldn't have about the same stats as Sabonis. So I'd almost put those two about equal at the moment without, knowing everything about Sabonis. But that's all to say. Right there, I think comfortably Jared Allen is in the top 6 centers in the league and rising. Right.
Yeah. I mean, you also have to take into effect health. I mean,
sure, 100%.
Always hurt. You pointed out Porzingis always hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I really can't remember a time where Jared Allen was hurt.
Yeah. He is. I mean, he has always been Mr. Consistent, and now he's keeping his consistency while increasing his level of play at the same time.
Right.
And so I'm telling you, I think on the preview pod we were talking. I remember I turned to you and Tim and said I gave you over under 1.5 Cavs. They're all stars. That your over bet's looking really good, and I think we all agreed Mitchell's an all-star. Allen is on his way to being an all-star, being the second all-star in the Cavs.
Oh yeah, I've been alluding to it pretty much every episode that we've talked. Like he looks like he is gunning for that starter role in the East, which he doesn't have a ton of tough competition for that role in the East. You have, Bam, really,
Bam.
Miles Turner. I haven't gotten to watch too many Pacers games this year, but outside of that, you don't really have that many centers in the East. A lot of
No,
the centers are out West.
because you're right. Yeah, and you're right. Because like you said, Porzingis is injured. Yeah, and a lot of the centers, you're right, are out West. I'm looking at this list, and so Jared Allen might be on his way to being the All-Star starter at center, let alone an All-Star.
Right.
Yeah, no, he's been phenomenal. But yeah, obviously a great performance again by the Cavs tonight. Took care of business. The starters were out of the game. Well, most of the starters were out of the game with about 7 or 8 minutes left. They left Mobley in to just get all of his stats tonight because he'd only played, I think, about 10 or 11 minutes in the game going into the fourth quarter. So they left him in for a good bit of the fourth quarter. And I think I'm looking at it now. I think he had like 17 points in the fourth quarter just to make sure leave no doubt in tonight's game.
Oh, he put that game to bed.
Yes. But and obviously we'll get back to the Cavs in a minute, but we should talk about the greatest Cavalier of all time, LeBron James, in the building tonight. Skylar, I looked up this stat today, and I'm gonna let you take a guess here. LeBron before tonight had come to the Cavaliers as a visitor 11 times. He had played the Cavs in Rocket Mortgage Arena or the Q. What do you think LeBron's record was against the Cavs before tonight in 11 games?
Pretty sure it's 11-0.
Yeah, it's 9-2, but I think they lost when his first year in the Lakers where they were really bad, and then there was one other one spread in there somewhere. But yeah, he's been almost unbeatable coming into to Cleveland as a visitor, just as he was when he was the home guy here. But LeBron, like tonight, was a really solid night. The Cavs just jumped on him so early, despite he had very good stats. He had 26, 6 rebounds, 3 assists on really good shooting, 9 for 13 shooting. But he couldn't really, him or AD or any Laker really couldn't make their imprint on the game just because of the Cavs, jumped on him so quickly. So opposed to just thinking about tonight's, like, what are your thoughts on LeBron so far this season, kind of going forward this season? What are your thoughts?
It does seem like that he's handed over the reins to AD.
Yeah.
And I think that was always the intention, was that, handing it off to AD, kind of sunsetting or riding off into the sunset. He still is the most, I hope I look like that when I'm 40. I don't look like that at 30. So like just his physique is incredible.
Yeah.
We will never, and I've said this, I'll bang on this drum to the day I die. We are never going to see a longevity like LeBron James.
So people think I'm crazy. I think I said this on a previous podcast before we started this one, when we were talking about LeBron. I think LeBron has had the greatest career of any athlete all time. Like when you compare all of his accomplishments and what he's doing in these late stages of his career versus history, like the guy last year was his 21st year in the league. He, the player that averaged the most points in their 21st year in the league, I think was Vince Carter, and he averaged 4 points a game.
Yeah.
LeBron averaged 26 a game last year. It's phenomenal. As still a huge LeBron fan, I wish he was since he still looks so good, I wish the Lakers were a little bit better. I mean, I think they're a little bit better than we thought, but I don't think they're true title contenders. But it's still fun to watch him play.
Yeah, and who knows? They could keep getting better with JJ Redick. There's still a new coaching system. Although Kenny Atkinson's new coaching system looks like it's been implemented seamlessly. Golly. But yeah, I don't think they're a, bona fide 1 seed, but I think they're an easy 5-6 seed.
Yeah, that's probably about the range that they're looking at. I agree with that. And the one other thing about tonight's game, and then we can move on to big picture Cavs and previewing the upcoming games. We at least want to mention Bronny James had his first NBA bucket. We do not want to be a part of the talking head cycle that that breaks down every time Bronny takes a step or takes a breath or anything like that. But I mean, as Cavs fans and everything, I think we're all rooting for him and just kind of want to leave him alone and find his path in the league. You have any additional thoughts to that, Skylar?
I thought it was really great that the crowd chanted for him and they all cheered real loud when he did score his bucket. Just letting him know his hometown is behind him.
Yeah,
no matter what color.
100%. And I don't know if you saw this. One of the Cavs beat writers, I forget the name, so I apologize. But he put up, the Cavs actually put in the Lakers locker room like welcome home posters for both LeBron and Bronny today.
Yeah,
I should share those on our social media feeds. But nice touch. I think there's always hard feelings, especially the first time he left. But Cavs fans have nothing but love for LeBron, and as we do on this podcast, and we'll certainly check in on LeBron on this podcast throughout the year. We hope he does well whenever he's not playing the Cavs.
Yeah, exactly. Cavs number one, then everybody else.
That's right. So going forward, as you said, the Cavs 5-0. I'm trying to check in on this Boston game so I can confidently say, God, it might be going to double overtime. So they're at least one of two teams, maybe by the end of the night, the only Eastern Conference team that's undefeated, depending on the Celtics outcome. I mean, I don't know if we could be feeling much better. Is there any? Do you think there's anything missing from this first week or so, first 5 games? Anything? They're not perfect, but the record's perfect. Anything you're kind of looking at to see get even better, Skylar?
Well, after tonight's game, definitely need to clean up on fouls.
Mm-hmm.
When the Cavs team total are 26 fouls and the Lakers are 7.
Yeah.
That's a little cause for concern. Thankfully, it didn't affect the game at all. I mean,
right.
you think it would. I mean, that's at least 10 to 12 free throws there.
Yeah.
So you think that would affect, a closer game.
Yeah.
So clean up the fouls. Outside of that, man, they're playing like perfect ball. They're not selfish. They're distributing. They're getting back on defense. And I really think that their pace of play makes it hard for any team to guard them. They're literally going to run you off the floor.
Yeah, you nailed it. That was the same thing I wrote down, was cleaning up the foul trouble, particularly Garland and Mobley. Garland is obviously incredibly valuable to his team, but especially Mobley, since they only really play 2 big guys. It is going to, like tonight, Jared Allen was awesome, but if he continues getting foul trouble every other game, that's going to put more burden than we want on Jarrett throughout the year and everything. So totally agree with that. And honestly, like I'm not a blame the ref guy. Both of them kind of committed some fouls that they didn't need to commit, basically.
Yeah.
So, and they're both young players, that happens, but I completely agree with you that's probably the number one thing I'd like to see him clean up, so that we can have our regular rotation and we don't have to have a guy step up out of nowhere. So yeah, no, great call out by you. Well, let's look ahead. Let's see what the Cavs have coming up. So Friday night, great game. I'm super interested in seeing is against the Magic. I think we said on a previous project, the Magic are like the Cavaliers last year, basically. The young, really developing team, rapidly developing team. Really fun to watch, play really hard, play together. Not quite as experienced as the Cavs, but I expect that to be as good a game as we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a test on running them off the floor, because they have a young, lengthy, athletic team. So I think that will be a test. I don't know. Do you just let Paulo do whatever he wants and say he can beat us? Everybody else, we're not gonna let them beat you.
Yeah, it's a age-old conundrum, like, right? Because you can say, let the star get theirs, but we don't want them setting up everybody else, or a second or third or fourth guy getting hot as well. But Paolo did just have 50 a few nights ago. So you probably don't want to let him have 50. And he's a lot of fun to watch. And it'll be a great test, because my guess is Mobley's going to be the guy guarding him a good portion of the time. So the challenge of not only playing sound defense, but staying out of foul trouble, I think could end up being one of the keys to the game.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's going to be a tough matchup. And will either attribute to or help fix the foul issues. But it could go the other way too. It could be Mobley, getting Paolo into foul trouble, because it's so hard to stop. So it's going to be a really, really good matchup. And then the Wagner brothers. I don't know which one I least like. Just from the series last year and going into Game 7, I can't remember which one. If it's
it has to be Mo. Mo's the one who's always talking, basically.
Yeah.
So
okay, then it's Mo.
yeah. He's something else. But yeah, the Magic. I'm kind of looking at a few of their stats here. Franz Wagner, as you said, he's averaging over 20 a game this year, doing really well. Wendell Carter, old friend, from his time with the Bulls, played against him a lot. He's averaging 8 points and 11 rebounds. They're getting, and they're starting to get more contributions from the backcourt than they did last year. Jalen Suggs is developing a really, really good player. Anthony Black has come back and from his injury last year, and probably been a little bit better than they thought. And they signed Contavious Caldwell-Pope. They might not have signed him if they knew how good Anthony Black was going to look, but still, they're a really tough matchup for anybody. And for the Cavs, I think, like I say, the teams kind of remind me of each other, with the Magic just being a little bit younger and a little bit less experienced and developed. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a fun one Friday night.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they don't remind me of the Cavs last year. They remind me of the Cavs before Donovan Mitchell, or the year before Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
So it's just like they're one perennial superstar away from being, I would say, a top 4 team.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and they're coming though. They're definitely another team on the rise in the Eastern Conference. Probably the team ascending as much as anybody, from like a 7 or 8 seed to maybe that middle of the seeding. You could easily see them become a 4 or 5 seed this year, I think. And then the only other games we'll talk about, they got a back-to-back against Milwaukee. First going to Milwaukee, then coming back to Cleveland over the weekend. The Bucks have some issues. They're one of the older teams in the league. They're dealing with some injuries. They're dealing with some discontent, it seems. But they still have one of the more talented rosters in the league when they're right. So going up against them in a back-to-back should be another really good challenge for the Cavs.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm low on the Bucks, because it seems like the Damian Lillard trade set them back. I don't think they got greedy and said, we're going to get Dame. And then I don't think it hasn't panned out for them. And then kind of their revolving coaching door. I know they have Doc Rivers in right now. I think they have a lot of other stuff that they have to figure out, more than kind of just the basketball piece of it.
No, for sure. Yeah.
I agree. Reminds me, which way would you rather have? Would you rather have your toughest opponent on the first night of a back-to-back, or the easier opponent on the first night and the tougher opponent on your second night?
It's a good question. I think it kind of depends on what team you have and what the other team, that team you're playing the second night, are they also on a back-to-back or not? I don't think it matters quite as much as this Cavs team, because they're young and they have depth. So for this particular team, I don't have as big a preference. Usually I would say you would want the easier team on the front end. Hope you can get a little bit lower than average minutes for your star players, and then have them more ready to go that back to back. But luckily for this Cavs team, I think they're just set up in a way that it's not going to matter too much for them.
Yeah. Sydney put in the chat here, the Celtics lost.
Right. There it is. Thank you, Sydney. And thank you, Sydney, for calling out my bet and reminding me to say it. You're the man. The last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here is you briefly mentioned Kenny Atkinson. And we got a few stats tonight during the game reminding us what the Cavs looked like last October versus this October. So last October, they went 1-3. They were getting outscored by 8 points a game. They were only averaging less than 106 points a game. Not great field goal percentages. After tonight, they're obviously 5-0. They're averaging 126 points a game, up over 20 points a game from last year, the offense.
Wild.
Yes. And, you obviously you start with the players and give me the players credit because they have very good players that have gotten even better since last year. Right. But you have to give Coach Atkinson some of that credit too, not only with the system he's put in, but honestly, I think a lot of times with these coaches and in baseball, the managers in these long seasons, a lot of it's about setting the tone and making it a collaborative effort and everything. And this team is just playing as together as any NBA team I followed closely in a long time.
No, I totally agree. It's refreshing what Atkinson has brought. It's also like very apparent because this is the exact same team as last year. They didn't bring any new faces in.
Yeah.
The only new face that they brought in was Kenny. And so you're getting this up level of production with the same group. So big shout out to Atkinson and his entire coaching staff for what they're doing. I thought we were going to take 10 steps backwards on defense to sacrifice for offense, and that has not been the case. Everything, even defense, has been elevated.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, my major concern was perimeter defense of this team, and I don't know that they're an awesome perimeter defensive team, but they're so good at all the other aspects of the game that doesn't matter quite as much, right? And it kind of goes to the decision we were all speculating on the preseason or the pod right before the season started, who that fifth starter would be was Strusouts, and you and Tim both called correctly Dean Wade. And I was the one who said you should play a Coro because he is defensive minded and can balance your teams. Kenny Atkinson went the other way. He's like, we're going to be as good as possible at the stuff we're really good at. And I'm going to play to our strengths opposed to trying to balance out our team to match up with others. And that's, frankly, it's a great way to coach, and it's probably why he's an NBA coach and I'm not. But he deserves all the credit. And I don't know if they do a coach of the month for October since they only play about 8 days in October. But if they do, he's got to be the favorite, right?
Oh, you have to, at least in the West or the East. I mean,
yeah, for sure. Okay, Scott, you got any thoughts? Any extra thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I'm excited to keep the good times rolling. We're undefeated since starting this podcast. So
maybe it is us. Don't listen to preseason ones. Just start at the eve of the season. So no, it's great, man. Always fun talking hoops with you. Always fun watching the Cavs win. And let's keep the good times rolling.
Awesome. All right, go Cavs.
Have a good night, everyone. There. God, I couldn't get my mouse to